Are you a serious animal collector that wants to make better buying decisions? If so, this is the show for you. Welcome to episode 1 of the Animal Review Show. I'm joined today by our new in-house expert, Katie. We are very glad to have her. And today we are going to start with aardvarks. We have 3 figures to look at today. Katie, where would you like to get started?
We're going to go smallest to biggest, so we'll start with the Schleich model here. Some of the things that I'm going to be looking for in general to assess the accuracy of the aardvarks are number of toes, first of all. Aardvarks are really, really important to sub-Saharan Africa because of their really long front claws. They dig burrows incredibly quickly, and a lot of animals really rely on those burrows for their survival and for shelter and food. So it's going to be important that they have 4 claws on the front and 5 claws on the back. Those big old ears are going to be important too. And aardvarks, they're a little hairier than you might think, at least on the sort of the bottom half. So the toes are going to be the big thing. Got to have that nose to hide their long tongue to slurp up the termites in the termite mounds. So those are sort of the general things that I'm going to be looking for today.
All right, let's get started with the Schleich figure.
All right, so this is the little Schleich Aardvark we have here. This is a smaller figure, so I'm sure it'll be a little bit more difficult to get that detail in. Right off the bat, we can see that we do have those 4 toes right there in the front. They're a little bit shorter than I think what a real aardvark would have. Aardvarks are what we call digitigrade. That's just a really fancy word for saying basically they walk up on their tippy toes instead of the whole foot. This one does have that long nose, and a real aardvark is going to have a kind of a nose and a snout that's a little bit longer. Aardvark means earth pig. They're not closely related to pigs. Their closest relatives are elephants and manatees and an animal called a hyrax. Again, the ears are a little bit small. The nose is a little bit short. The color is pretty accurate. They get darker kind of near the legs. They've got that nice long tail in the back. We do have 5 toes on the back feet, which is fabulous. Overall, I would say this is a fairly accurate aardvark. If you touch an aardvark, they feel a little bit like pigs almost. They have this coarse hair on top, and then they have, as you get towards the legs, it actually gets kind of long. They're a little bit hairier than you'd think. So overall, I would say this one is fairly accurate.
All right, Katie, let's move on to the Mojo figure.
The face shape is a little closer to what a true aardvark would have. It's got that kind of longer snout. And then looking at the toes again, we do have, the toes are kind of squished in there, but that's pretty accurate to what an aardvark would have. So we do have those 4 toes on the front. Again, the ears are a little bit teeny tiny there, but they still work just fine, I'm sure. We do have 5 toes in the back. They're sort of squished up like a dew claw, a little bit more than what a real aardvark would have. But the number of digits is still correct, and that's really kind of the big thing we're looking for. It is interesting that the tail is a little bit small. They have a pretty long, thick tail behind them. And this one, you can still kind of see the skin texture is pretty accurate. The musculature is pretty true to what an aardvark really does have. Fun fact, none of these figures have smell-o-vision, but aardvarks are stinky when they get frightened. They can express their glands, and it's pretty aromatic. The coloration, the shade of pink here is pretty spot on. Typically, they do get a little bit darker as you go down into the legs here. This one, there are specific features of this one that are more true to life than the previous figure.
What are the features that make it a little more inaccurate?
To me, the main thing is the tail. This is a teeny tiny tail for an aardvark. They have a pretty long tail, and the ears are just a little bit small.
All right, Katie, let's take a look at the last figure from Safari Ltd.
This one is a lot bigger than the other ones, which of course would mean that you can fit a little more detail in. Again, it does have that furry texture. The tail is a little bit small, but it is a little longer than the last one. He's got the big ears. These ears are exceptionally large, but I think closer to what an aardvark really would have. So the interesting thing about this particular figure, if you look at the toes, it's got 5 toes on the front and 4 toes in the back, which is inverted. Again, typically they'll have the 4 toes on the front with those really, really long digging claws, and they can dig a pretty extensive burrow in 5 minutes or less, which is a really important survival strategy when there are things like hyenas and lions trying to eat you. That is the biggest sort of thing that I noticed right off the bat, is just that they don't have the accurate number of toes that they should. The facial structure is pretty good. It's pretty proportionally accurate. Again, it's got that furry texture. They're not quite as furry on the back here as this one presents. But again, the big thing that I'm looking at and I'm thinking, I don't know about that, is those number of toes.
Okay, Katie, decision time. You've pointed out a few inaccuracies with all the figures, but which one would you judge to be the most overall scientifically accurate?
The one that's probably the most accurate, I think, out of this is going to be the Mojo here. This figure, it's proportionally, maybe the tail's a little bit short, but it's got the right number of toes. It's got a good coloration. It's got that musculature that and sort of the morphology or the body structure that we would see to a real life aardvark. It's got that really long nose. So I think overall that's going to be the most accurate is the Mojo model.
So Katie, our new in-house expert, has determined that the Mojo Aardvark is the most accurate. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and thumbs up. As always, remember to support happyhentoys.com for all your animal needs. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you on the next video.